Get out. You don't deserve to be here. My mother-in-law, Sarah, screamed, her perfectly manicured finger pointing at the door of her lavish suburban home. My grandson deserves a real mother, not a failure like you. I stood in her pristine kitchen, surrounded by the expensive birthday decorations she'd chosen for my son Oliver's 5th birthday party. The other mothers from his preschool class shifted uncomfortably, trying to avoid eye contact while shielding their children from the scene unfolding before them. My name is Emma Mitchell, and at 32, I never imagined I'd be thrown out of my own son's birthday party. But here I was, watching my mother-in-law orchestrate yet another power play in her endless campaign to prove I wasn't good enough for her precious family. You think being a part-time photographer makes you fit to be a Mitchell? She continued, her voice dripping with disdain. Look at this party. Do you think you could have provided any of this for Oliver on your own? I glanced at the elaborate dinosaur-themed decorations, the custom cake from the city's most expensive bakery, and the mountain of wrapped presents. She was right about one thing. I couldn't have afforded this extravagant display, but that's not what Oliver had asked for. Mommy? Oliver's small voice cut through the tension. He stood in the doorway, confusion written across his face, his favorite dinosaur t-shirt, the one I tie-dyed with him last weekend, already stained with cake frosting. Why is Grandma yelling? Before I could respond, Sarah swooped in, pulling him into a tight embrace. Don't worry, sweetheart. Grandma's just helping Mommy understand that sometimes it's better to let the people who really love you take care of things. I felt my husband David's hand on my shoulder, but his grip was weak, uncertain. Just like always, he stood silently by, unwilling to challenge his mother's authority. Maybe you should go, Emma, he whispered. You're upsetting everyone. I looked around the room one last time, taking in the uncomfortable guests, my mother-in-law's triumphant smirk, and my son's confused face. Then, surprisingly calm, I smiled. You're right, I said, my voice steady. I should go. Oliver, honey, Mommy has to leave for a little while. But I promise this isn't the end of your birthday celebration. Sarah's smirk widened. Always making promises you can't keep. That's your problem, Emma. You never know when to admit defeat. I walked to the door, pausing only to blow a kiss to Oliver. I love you, buddy. See you soon. As I drove away from Sarah's house, my hands finally started shaking. But it wasn't from fear or sadness, it was anticipation. What Sarah didn't know was that I'd been preparing for something like this for months. Ever since Oliver had first mentioned wanting a dinosaur-themed birthday party, I've been working on a surprise. Not the kind of surprise Sarah would appreciate. Nothing expensive or showy. Instead, I'd been pouring my heart and photography skills into something much more meaningful. I pulled into my driveway and headed straight for my home office. There, spread across my desk, were the fruits of 6 months of secret labor. Dozens of photographs I'd taken of Oliver at the Natural History Museum, where I'd been volunteering as their event photographer. Photos of him with real paleontologists, helping to clean actual dinosaur bones, exploring behind-the-scenes areas most kids never got to see. Next to the photos sat an official-looking envelope from the museum's education department. I picked it up, running my fingers over the embossed letterhead. Inside was the culmination of countless meetings, favors called in, and hours of volunteer work, approval for the first ever kid-curated dinosaur exhibit, featuring Oliver's own photographs and stories. My phone buzzed with texts from the other mothers who had witnessed Sarah's outburst. Are you okay? That was horrible. She had no right. I responded to each one with the same message. Thank you for your concern. If you'd like to see Oliver's real birthday celebration, bring the kids to the Natural History Museum tomorrow at 10 a.m. Trust me, it'll be worth it. Sarah thought she'd won today, thought she'd finally proven I wasn't good enough to be part of her family. She had no idea that while she was planning her elaborate party, I'd been building something much more meaningful, something that would show everyone, especially Oliver, what really mattered. I sat down at my computer and began finalizing the details for tomorrow. The museum's education director had already confirmed everything was ready, and the local newspaper reporter I'd contacted was eager to cover the story of their youngest ever guest curator. My phone rang, David calling, probably to lecture me about making a scene. I let it go to voicemail. He'd find out tomorrow, along with everyone else, exactly what kind of mother I really was. For now, I had work to do. Sarah's expensive party may have been ruined, but Oliver's real celebration was just beginning. The next morning, I arrived at the museum 2 hours early. The halls were quiet, our footsteps echoing as Dr. Anderson, the head paleontologist, helped me make the final adjustments to the exhibit. Oliver's photographs lined the walls of the special exhibition space, not just snapshots, but carefully composed images showcasing his journey over the past 6 months. "These are remarkable, Emma," Dr. Anderson said, adjusting the lighting on a photo of Oliver carefully cleaning a raptor claw. "I still can't believe these were taken by a 5-year-old. He has a good eye," I replied, straightening a caption Oliver had dictated to me, "and an even better heart." My phone buzzed constantly, messages from David alternating between anger and confusion. "Mom's furious about your museum invitation. What are you trying to prove? Oliver's already had his party." I ignored them all. They'd understand soon enough. At 9:45, families started arriving. I watched from the second floor as parents and children from Oliver's class filtered into the museum lobby, many clutching the invitations I'd sent last night. Some looked uncertain, probably wondering if they were taking sides in a family drama. But their children's excitement at being in the museum was evident. At 9:55, I saw Sarah's Mercedes pull into the parking lot. She emerged in her designer outfit, gripping Oliver's hand tightly, with David trailing behind them. Her face was set in grim determination. She was probably expecting some small, sad attempt to compete with her lavish party. "Ready?" Dr. Anderson asked, adjusting his tie. I nodded. "Let's give Oliver his real birthday surprise." At exactly 10 a.m., Dr. Anderson stepped up to the podium in the museum's main hall. The crowd fell quiet as he began to speak. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special event. Today, we're making museum history with our youngest ever guest curator. Over the past 6 months, this remarkable young man has been working alongside our paleontology team, documenting his experience through photography and storytelling." Sarah's face contorted in confusion. Oliver, standing next to her, perked up at the mention of paleontology. "Please join me in welcoming our guest of honor, Oliver Mitchell." Oliver's eyes went wide as the spotlight found him in the crowd. "Me?" he squeaked. I descended the stairs, holding out my hand to him. "Come on, buddy. Want to show everyone what you've been doing with Mommy." He broke free from Sarah's grip and ran to me, his face glowing with excitement. Together, we walked to the front of the room. For the past 6 months, I explained to the assembled crowd, Oliver has been spending his Saturday mornings here at the museum. Not just visiting, but working alongside real paleontologists, learning about dinosaurs, and capturing his experience through photography. The museum staff unveiled the exhibition entrance, where a huge photo of Oliver, wearing a junior paleontologist vest, beamed down at everyone. Sarah's jaw dropped. "Oliver," Dr. Anderson said, handing him a small pair of scissors, "would you do the honors of cutting the ribbon to open your very first museum exhibit?" As Oliver excitedly cut the ribbon, flashbulbs popped, the local newspaper photographer capturing the moment. The crowd burst into applause, then followed us into the exhibition space. The walls told a story, Oliver's story. Photos showed him learning to clean fossils, helping to catalog specimens, and even assisting in creating educational materials for other children. Each image was accompanied by his own words, his descriptions of what he'd learned and what it meant to him. "Did you really take all these pictures?" one of his classmates asked in awe. Oliver nodded proudly. "Mommy taught me how to use her camera properly, and look," he ran to a display case. "These are real dinosaur bones I helped clean." Parents and children moved through the space, reading Oliver's descriptions and admiring his photographs. The other mothers who'd witnessed yesterday's scene came to hug me, their earlier discomfort replaced by understanding and support. Sarah stood in the middle of it all, her perfectly composed facade crumbling as she watched Oliver expertly explain fossil preparation techniques to his amazed classmates. David moved closer to the photos, studying them with an intensity I hadn't seen from him in years. Mrs. Mitchell, a newspaper reporter, approached, notebook in hand. "Could you tell us what inspired this unique project?" Before I could answer, Oliver piped up. "My mommy's the best photographer ever. She taught me that pictures tell stories, and I wanted to tell everyone about my dinosaurs." The reporter smiled, jotting down his words. "And how long have you been planning this exhibition?" 6 months, I replied, watching as realization dawned on Sarah's face. All those Saturdays she'd smugly assumed I was working at meaningless photography jobs. I'd been here with Oliver, building something priceless. Some things are worth taking time to do right. Dr. Anderson stepped forward again, raising his voice to address the crowd. And we have one more surprise. Oliver's exhibition has been so successful in its soft opening that the museum board has voted to extend it for 3 months as part of our regular exhibition schedule. Oliver will be our youngest ever contributing artist. The crowd erupted in applause again. Oliver bounced with excitement, hugging my legs tightly. "Did you hear that, Grandma?" he called out to Sarah. "My pictures are going to be in the museum forever." I watched as Sarah's carefully constructed narrative about me, the failure, the unworthy mother, crumbled in front of everyone. But this wasn't about revenge. This was about showing my son that love isn't measured in expensive parties or wrapped presents. It's measured in time, in patience, in nurturing what makes someone special. As Oliver led his friends on a personal tour of his exhibition, David finally approached me. "Emma," he started, but I held up my hand. "Not now," I said quietly. "Today is about Oliver." He nodded, understanding that we had a lot to discuss later. For now, I watched my son shine, knowing that this birthday would be remembered not for Sarah's extravagant party, but for the moment Oliver realized just how capable he was. And that was worth more than all the elaborate parties in the world. 2 weeks after the museum exhibition opened, I sat in my home office, editing photos from my latest wedding shoot. The exhibition had changed everything, not just for Oliver, but for my photography business too. The newspaper coverage had led to several calls from other museums interested in my work with children and education. My phone buzzed, Sarah's name flashing on the screen. Since the exhibition opening, she had left without a word, and I hadn't heard from her since. I considered letting it go to voicemail, but decided it was time to face whatever came next. "Hello, Sarah," I answered, keeping my voice neutral. "Emma." Her voice sounded different, lacking its usual sharp edge. I visited Oliver's exhibition again yesterday." This surprised me. "Oh." "I watched a little boy about Oliver's age standing in front of his photos for almost an hour," she continued. "He kept telling his mother he wanted to be just like Oliver. A real scientist," he said. I waited, sensing there was more. "I've been wrong," she admitted finally, the words seeming to cost her considerable effort. "About you, about what makes a good mother." I saw how proud Oliver was, not just of the photos, but of everything he'd learned. No amount of expensive parties could have given him that. "No," I agreed quietly, "they couldn't." "David showed me all the Saturday photos on his phone," she went on. "The ones he took of you and Oliver working together at the museum. I never saw that side of your relationship." I thought about those Saturdays, the quiet moments teaching Oliver about composition. Watching his face light up when he got the perfect shot, seeing him grow more confident with each new skill he mastered. "Being a Mitchell," I said carefully, "isn't about money or status, Sarah. It's about building something meaningful. That's what I've been trying to show Oliver all along." There was a long pause. "The museum called me," she said finally. "They want to start a regular program for children inspired by Oliver's project. They asked if I would consider funding it, as Oliver's grandmother." Now it was my turn to be surprised, and I said yes. It felt right. "But Emma, I'd like you to be involved too, as the program's photographer and instructor, if you're willing." I heard the olive branch for what it was, not just a job offer, but an acknowledgement of my worth as both a professional and a mother. David had been making his own amends. He'd started coming to the museum on Saturdays, not to interfere, but to learn about this world Oliver and I had created together. Last weekend, he'd even picked up a camera himself. "I need to think about it," I told Sarah honestly. "A lot has happened." "I understand," she replied, and for once I believed she did. "Just, thank you for showing me what I almost destroyed." After we hung up, I walked to Oliver's room. He was on the floor, carefully arranging his dinosaur figures in a scene he wanted to photograph. His junior paleontologist vest hung proudly on his wall, next to a framed copy of the newspaper article about his exhibition. "Hey, buddy," I said, sitting down beside him. "What are you creating?" "A story, Mommy, like we do at the museum. See, this T-Rex is teaching the baby dinos how to be brave and strong." even when the big scary dinosaurs don't believe in them. I smiled, recognizing the parallel he had drawn. That sounds like a very important story, Oliver. Want me to help you photograph it? He beamed up at me. Yes, and can we show Grandma when it's done? She visited my exhibition again, did you know? She said she's learning to see things differently now. Yeah, I said, helping him adjust the lighting just the way I'd taught him. I think she is. In the end, this wasn't about proving Sarah wrong or standing up to her attempts to push me away. It was about showing Oliver that true worth isn't measured in grand gestures or expensive gifts, but in the patient, quiet moments where we build something meaningful together. As I watched him carefully compose his shot, his little face serious with concentration, I knew that he understood. Every photo he took, every story he told, was a testament to the kind of love that money couldn't buy, the kind that took time, patience, and faith to build. Sarah's program funding offer sat in the back of my mind, not as a peace offering to be accepted or rejected, but as a sign that change was possible. Real change, the kind that started with admitting you were wrong and doing better. Oliver looked up from his camera, his face glowing with pride. Look, Mommy, I got it just right. And he had. Not just the photo, but the lesson behind it all, that sometimes the biggest victories come not from grand gestures, but from the quiet certainty of knowing exactly who you are and what you're worth. That was worth more than any birthday party in the world.